Understand. Yeah, okay. Would you first like to introduce yourself and what your role is with Barco?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. My name's Claudio. I'm from Barco. I'm the Managing Director for the ANZ operation, covering all the BUs that Barco has within its organisation.
No worries. And what are some of the key trends that you see shaping the industry of AV for the future? And what ways maybe that you could be taking into account to adapt to some of these changes?
That's a pretty big question there. Depending on the area, if we look at different segments of the market or industries, certainly digital workplace continues to evolve. There's challenges within that, whether end customer, integrator, consultant, looking at ways how that can be stood up and adaptive, especially in the current environment. So, the same challenges exist in terms of video adoption for general spaces, mixing the work from home and the hybrid scenario continues to evolve. And for us, it's, again, how can we help that process in facilitating technology to help people? It's always people first when it comes to technology from our standpoint. And that's something that continues to evolve. There's still obviously people still finding their feet and what the definition of a digital workplace is these days. So that's one area. Certainly in regards to command and control, that continues to probably be the most rapid that we're experiencing with the threat of cybersecurity and obviously a lot of attacks. We see reading it all about security is at the top of mind across most organisations. So in the command and control is the focus for us is on the operator workflow. How can we help those operators that typically deal with a lot of information, a lot of alarms and so forth. Most people aren't aware it's quite a stressful job, and how can technology alleviate those stresses in that environment, and in terms of also activation of prevention and mitigating future incidents in that space. In terms of immersive, again, that's quite a broad topic. We're seeing still adoption of large immersive spaces, both in the arts and also in workplaces. Always looking at how do you attract, whether it's employees, guests, visitors, and so forth. So that I think is really beginning to adopt a much more presence, especially in of Europe. So you see much more large, permanent immersive spaces that have been installed. Melbourne, Sydney, and there's certainly talk of other regions and states. And if you think about the Olympics coming up, I think we're going to see a lot more excitement in that immersive space for the public.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
Is that immersive space just like public spaces, or are you seeing it in corporate spaces a lot?
No, it's in both. So again, what do you define as public? But yeah, look, if you look at most corporate buildings in terms of the entryways, what are they doing to make it a gala entrance? So you're seeing very large digital platforms that are being introduced. There's also a lot of talk about large-scale digital artwork that still seems to be adopted in Australia, and there's much more coming ahead in interactive spaces for both paying and public spaces as well.
Yeah, one question I had was, going to sort of trending products versus, products versus sort of trends, and is one sort of influencing the other? Is a market trend influencing a product, or is a product trend influencing a market trend, or both per se?
Look, I think it's a blend of both. Ultimately, the voice of customer is key to what any manufacturer, anyone in technology is obviously aspiring to deliver. Certainly, insights from a technology development, what we possibly see as an opportunity, what can we utilise the technology. So I think it's a blend of both. I don't think there's a single view on either way. For us, we take a blend of that. Certainly there is always that element of what people want. Then there's obviously the element of what's actually achievable from that perspective. So it's a blend of both, definitely.
Yeah, no, perfect. And yeah, go for it. That's all I had.
obviously Barco plays in a really interesting little space with both panels as well as projectors. What do you see the growth in? Like, is one of those markets stronger than the other? And I mean, obviously both have their place, but how are they sort of interacting with each other in the marketplace?
It really comes down into the application. For us, actually, our projection business continues to grow.
Yeah.
And that's because we're expanding into areas traditionally that we hadn't existed in. So certainly playing a very high end of town with a large digital format and big scale, as we've done for many, many years, but also now adoption in, if you look at simulation spaces, but even smaller footprint. So for us, projection seems to continue to grow.
Yeah.
And in large format displays, again, it just depends on the technology and where it's being used. We're extremely diverse in our verticals and also the industries that we play in. So it's still there, it's still buoyant. Certainly what we're seeing is probably the continual trend of larger walls, seamless walls, and also looking at, high density in terms of pixel density for larger wall canvases. More information, more to show.
Yeah. But does that, I mean, so I'm just thinking about the size and scale. Obviously projection still has a cost benefit over panels when you get to really big sizes and stuff like that.
Yep.
But is that the differential between the two? Is that shrinking? Is it getting harder? So, rather than having a micro-tile wall, a Barco, beautiful wall or something, right?
Oh, well, I think we're fortunate we carry all the display technology.
No, I understand. So, that's why I'm sort of trying to
the projection's still in terms of, dollars per inch, so to speak, is still obviously feasible. It's the most flexible. You can't put, solid walls, whether it be LED, direct LEDs or LCD walls, you cannot put that in certain spaces. It just doesn't have the flexibility, or simply you're projecting onto surfaces that require projection versus solid state displays.
One last question. Sorry, I'm just sort of thinking off the top of my head. A lot of this, I mean, I'm looking at this beautiful artwork that's coming up in this immersive sort of space built here with double projectors and stuff like that. The artwork for those sorts of things, is that being generated specifically for specific locations, or are these sort of libraries of things that people can actually have access to?
Look, it depends on the client. We find that it is typically is actually created for an intended purpose.
Right.
If they're telling a story, if a particular topic, there are some AI generated content as well, which is an interesting piece. But it tends to be specific to that particular intended use.
Right.
Whether in a museum, or it's a permanent event space, where they're telling a story, or even for large-scale corporate events.
Right. So do you work with the client in that respect to actually get the best potential outcome?
Yeah. Usually there's a number of different stakeholders in that type of project. Everything from lighting, content, design. From that, it's really to build a story from start to finish.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, if you can actually add that as part of your value chain.
Yeah, we're just one link in the chain, so we play our part and use our expertise and knowledge how to maximise the benefit for the client. And again, it's the end game is the end customer outcome. That's the most important.
Beautiful.